I want to talk a little bit about codependency today. So, if you've been following me for a while, you know that boundaries is a huge part of my work. And when we have a codependent dynamic with someone, essentially we are giving up our needs in order to either please the other person or enable a damaging behavior or a violent behavior or an addictive behavior. And we are not necessarily standing up for what we need in order for ourselves to feel nourished and also to have a healthy overall secure functioning relational dynamic with the person that we're partnered with. So when we get caught up in that kind of role, whereas a few different ways this can manifest, part of it, as I posted about this yesterday, was focusing too much on the other person as a way to avoid our own pain and our own stuff. That can be one way that we become codependent. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're doing it on purpose. A lot of times we're engaging in that behavior and it's very unconscious. It's a pattern that we perhaps grew up with or we learned over time, is how we received acknowledgement or validation. Another way we can become codependent is to not really make bringing up therapy a priority in the relationship, even though our partner might have addictive behaviors or things that are really affecting the dynamic of the relationship, and we are not speaking up about that. So we simply sit on the sidelines and we don't say anything. Another way we become codependent is to not really be willing to see the truth of the painful things that are happening in a relationship, or minimize things. We deny things in order to keep the peace. So how do we come out of that dynamic? The first piece, as anything, is to have awareness, to bring that ability to, okay, I am willing to look at some of these things that might be painful or triggering for me as the beginning part of my healing journey. And then the next necessary piece is creating some boundaries. In order for a relationship to be healthy, there has to be a balance. There has to be both people's needs being acknowledged, being met. It doesn't mean they're 100% of the time both partners have to be perfectly matched in the way they give and take. Of course not. Sometimes one partner is going to be sick and the other partner is going to be giving a little bit more, or one partner is going to be going through a hard time and another partner is going to be taking on a little bit more of the load. That's important to acknowledge. But when both partners are capable of giving and one person is taking advantage of the dynamic while the other person is carrying a bigger load, or perhaps not really feeling entitled to claim their needs, that's when it gets really tricky. So a powerful way to interrupt that pattern is to call it out. If that's something you're experiencing with your partner, sit down with them, let them know, I'm realizing there's some things in our dynamic that doesn't feel quite balanced for me, and that I really want to approach this and talk about this with you. These are some of the things I really need. And what that starts to do is it starts to balance out the power dynamic in the relationship. Because think about it, if we're in a codependent dynamic, it's like this. One person has more of the power and is kind of even taking advantage of it, because we're human. We all take advantage of things when we can get away with it. So the person that's on the lower end of the power dynamic has to be the one to initiate that boundary setting. They have to be the one to start speaking up and saying, no, this is not okay with me. And what starts to happen is, well, if this person is willing to really hear that and respond to you in a way that is necessary, then there's a possibility to renegotiate the relationship. If you're with somebody that is not willing to acknowledge your needs, that's a red flag. That is something where, I always suggest getting couple support a non-negotiable in your relationship. So I hope this helps to just tease apart what codependency can look like in a dynamic, but also how important it is for the person that's on the lower end of the scale of the power dynamic to be the person to start setting those boundaries. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll be talking more about codependency in the upcoming weeks. Thank you.